requires stillness, and I want to go somewhere with this idea of stillness.
Yeah.
But I believe that here's another. I like what you said in the morning. Here's another one I would throw at our friends and say, hey, when you drive somewhere, and just do it when you pull in. Whenever you pull in, just turn the car off and let it be a sanctuary for a minute. Feel a minute. Just sit in your car.
Yeah.
For a minute. Deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in you, Jesus. You're in me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great just to if you're going to say or think anything, so you don't go off in all kinds of distraction. Just I'm in you and you're in me. With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoe's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful ends for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more. Welcome, friends and allies, to the Exploring More podcast. Michael Thompson hanging out with Tappy.
Tappity.
SJ Jennings. And here to talk with you a little bit about, we want to explore more about what it is to get away with God for a weekend, like at the Heart of Warrior Encounter.
Right. In 2 days, almost 400 guys are going to descend on Rockbridge in Goshen, Virginia, the Young Life camp there, and get away for the weekend.
Yeah.
Have an encounter with God. We're hopefully, prepared to set the table for them. And what's cool is, God always has something for us too. So
always
entering in that.
So this podcast is really kind of for them, but I want to make sure that any of our other listeners who may not be going to encounter that they stay tuned, because this has a lot to do with the rhythm of our lives, rhythm of our hearts, and the significance of rest and Sabbath and getting away. I mean, I remember it was a few years ago, a guy come up and said, "You can't call this a retreat anymore.
No.
I'm exhausted."
Right.
So there's an encounter. There's a pace. There's intentionality. There's movement. But what I want to bring into this podcast is, yes, it's the same thing for Sabbath, for rest, for getting away with God, making time for God. It takes intentionality, it takes purpose. And so want to talk about that. How do you prepare for that? And then how do you step into that with a, hopefully in a good place because of your preparation, because you've prepared. So love that word prepare, and we're going to explore more on the idea of that in just
prepare
a few
yourselves
Prepare
for
yourself.
this short message, and we'll come back and talk.
That's right.
We'll
be right back.
Medic appointments is really just having somebody listen, because a lot of men, we don't really have the opportunity to have somebody hear our story, hear our heart, see our heart. So the medic appointments that happen here at Zoe are so healing, freeing, and life-giving. To actually have somebody listen to you, listening is such a lost skill, but they listen to you. They really, more than anything, hear your heart more than the issue or the problem you're trying to solve, and help you to find the freedom and the joy and just the ability to breathe and just exhale and just be like, oh, just let the tension and all that go away. So these men, the men that do the medics appointments, they love well. They love well, have an amazing heart. They have the heart of the Lord to really dig deep into what it is to help really lead us to the Holy Spirit and the Father. And that's the key. Not to solve a problem, but to lead us to the foot of the Father, because the bottom line is we need more of the Father in our day-to-day when we're not around somebody.
Welcome back to the Exploring More podcast, where we're talking about being prepared. I like that. I like how you ended that before the break. And SJ, you are helping, if not leading the way in preparing for the encounter. You are the event coordinator. You are getting so many things in place from so many directions, all kind of coming in to this encounter weekend for these guys that we hope are going to tune into this particular podcast as we try to prepare them. So, first thoughts with just all of that moving into this moment.
Yeah, I guess my first thought was when we talked about recording this episode was, man, I just got to say, most of the time I come into this weekend and kind of skid to a stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm talking even before I joined the team.
Yeah.
Back when I was bringing guys or just coming on my own. My life is full.
Yeah.
And so I get onto camp and it's literally like, the old Looney Tunes, my heels dig into the ground and I come to a stop. And then I got to spend the first, half a day or whatever it is trying to slow down and just understand where I am, understand what God has for me, So I'm trying to be better about that and not do it that way. But I just want to say, I think a lot of guys probably feel that way coming in.
Yeah.
So the importance of this episode is can't be overstated really because I think there's a way to, and some of you guys might be saying like you're asking me to fit one more thing in, but I think back to the quote that you've shared at probably every event I've been to: when I am busy, the Father's quiet. And so, how do you overcome the busyness to get to a place where you can be quiet enough to hear the soft whispers of God, right?
Yeah.
So the way I'm trying to prepare to do that for this weekend, as you said, event director, just trying to bring everything together, not doing it all, but coordinating it all. So the way I'm trying to do it is really just finding. I've started getting up a little bit earlier every morning.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And I engage with an app on my phone, the Lectio Divina.
Yeah.
And it just kind of is taking me through the Bible in a year, the one that I'm signed up for. And I'm trying to find that quiet space before I start moving. Yeah. Which is so, because I'm doing it on my phone.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like bing, in the middle of it, Right. So you just have to find those spaces to breathe a little bit in between.
This is the intentionality
that
we have to be about as beloved sons, as image bearers, as men, with very full, busy, living on that margin, on that line of between the full life that I'm promised and the busy life that wants to run me.
Right.
And so I think you're so on the right track of where my heart was. How can you prepare to be still and know that I'm God? How can you prepare? So morning, great idea. Mm-hmm. Just that, and even stillness. Like I love the app too, but I'm even thinking of a practice, right? And so you're preparing to practice solitude.
Yeah, it takes me through a breathing exercise.
So slowing
for the first 5 minutes of it.
Yeah,
it's just breathing.
Yeah,
nothing else. So
and I know the app,
helps
and I know
me
the
with
practice.
Intentionality.
And you could say, and it's consciousness about your breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So it is just breathing, but it is slowing down and literally being invited to imagine. Like if it wasn't transparent and translucent, you would see oxygen go in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See it go out. So it has everything to do with slowing down.
Yeah.
For a few minutes,
right.
Just for a few minutes, to regulate, to be present, and then to move from, all right, now feel the seat that you're feel your butt sitting your shoulders relax, your eyebrows relax. You know, I mean, this is
you go from this to
yes,
this.
Yeah. I've noticed how there's a lot of times when I get into bed, and I'm kind of become a side sleeper. I was telling Robin the other day, like, I don't know, I used to be a tummy sleeper.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I through high school, through college, I would. Anyway, I'm surprised, but now I'm a side sleeper.
Yeah.
And so I'll be there sleeping. I'll be there trying to go to sleep, and I can go to sleep pretty fast. But the wild thing is, I can feel my shoulder trying to climb up in my ear. Mm-hmm. Literally, almost every night, I have to go and get that arm down. I think it's just the tension and the fullness and the busyness of the day. It's kind of like you lay there and so I've got to be conscious. And I say the reason I think it's so important that we're talking about this is to prepare for this weekend. That is a great, just anything and everything you can to be consciously aware of what's going on around you, what's going on inside. We're so programmed to react.
Yeah.
React to the problem, react to the kid, react to the dinner, react to the schedule, react, and so that's how we just kind of live with that RPM, up here. Mm-hmm. And so even to find some moments in the morning, in the evening, instead of collapsing, into bed and letting your shoulders up at your ears, just to do some of these kind of exercises, practices, intentionality, that require stillness. And I want to go somewhere with this idea of stillness.
Yeah.
But I believe that here's another. I like what you said in the morning. Here's another one I would throw at our friends and say, hey, when you drive somewhere, and just do it when you pull in. Whenever you pull in, just turn the car off and let it be a sanctuary for a minute. Feel a minute. Just sit in your car. Yeah. For a minute. Deep breath. Mm-hmm. I'm in you, Jesus. Mm-hmm. You're in me. Mm-hmm. That's a great just to if you're going to say or think anything, so you don't go off in all kinds of distraction. Just I'm in you and you're in me. Get that out about 3 or 4 times slow, and then go get your groceries.
Right. Or go into work.
Or go in. Yes.
Yeah. Go into the DMV.
But I think about if I do that just when I pull in somewhere. I think I pull into places if it's not just here at the tower. I mean, that's a couple, but it's probably 4 times a day,
right?
Maybe 5, right. Could be 6. That I am moving, and I get still, and I'm just practicing stillness.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the stillness part is crucial, man. And I do that in the morning because I heard someone a long time ago said, that God. The Old Testament talks about tithing 10%, tithing your first fruits, giving your first fruits, in the New Testament, give as a cheerful giver, right? Yeah. And I heard someone years ago say that that's not just about money, that's also about your time.
Time, yeah.
Right? And so I think a great place to start is first thing in the morning. That extra 15 minutes of sleep, honestly, is not that important for you, especially as you get closer to the time you're waking up, right? It's the deep sleep in the middle of the night that's really important. So add 15 minutes or take away 15 minutes to your alarm. Get into that practice of feeling that stillness. And then I love what you said. You can do that in moments throughout the day, And so as you do that, what occurs to me too is that you're spending time with God. He's bringing you things. He's bringing you places. He's revealing, especially leading up to a weekend away with him. He might start revealing some things to you. Yes. Hey, I would really like to meet you on the mountain about this one.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can say, okay. I'll see you there, you know. But the mountain doesn't have to be the mountain in Virginia, to your point, right? It can be, you know, take a hike and go where you need to do. It can be in the seat of your car if you're 10 minutes early for an appointment, you know. Right. I started keeping a notepad and a pen in my car years ago, you know, for that very purpose of if he's brings something up in my heart, I don't want to forget about it.
Right.
You know, that minute passes.
I was going to go with remembering and the importance of remembering. So even these practices, like getting into any new rhythm or any new space, I need some prompts. I need some reminders. You can put them in your phone.
That's
on
got the watch.
Yes, on the dash.
Tells me to stand up.
On the dash of the truck. If you just stick a sticky note on there for a week, it's looking at you every time you pull in.
Yeah.
You know,
but take a minute from there or something.
That just starts to move a little bit differently. And I believe that these practices that we're talking about and practicing stillness. I mean, so if this is something that is just important. If you think the conference starts on Thursday with dinner, which the brochure says that, no, these conferences, these weekends start.
Mine started when I was 7 years old.
How far do you want to go back? Right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, these they can start that on Monday. You can begin, and I think about preparation again. You know, the coaches I had in high school and college, if you didn't show up in shape on the first day of practices, you were so far behind. You were in such trouble,
right?
You know, and so we would practice and be in shape when we came to camp.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks of camp are not to get in shape; they're to start practicing
and to see who's going to throw up,
right?
when you're
doing wind sprints,
and not be able to perform, and who's without a chest poke, because I just don't like poking guys in the chest, but who's serious about this? Who really is intentional? That's to me another word for serious. Intentional about moving into this. So we're not asking them to read their Bibles more or to go to church more. We're asking them to be still. Start practicing some stillness. Just feel what that minute feels like. Feel what it feels like to engage your soul in the quiet of just a minute. It'll wig some guys out, man.
Oh,
it's just,
they'll be tapping on things.
It'll
nervous as can be.
It will just, they haven't heard. They haven't heard any quiet like that in years, weeks, months. So I think that's one of the things that I think about going in is just to start stretching. Before you run a mile, let's walk a mile. You know, so to try to prepare in solitude. I think the other thing that is really important about the weekend, SJ, is man, and I would love it if men would be intentional about weekends like this away with God, just like maintenance. It's just you put it on. There's that. Speaking of the truck windshield, there it is. It's the reminder.
There's the date and the mileage.
Right. And it just calls to you every now and then, like, hey man, I'm getting close. I've got to get it in for maintenance. And every now and then, the light will come on.
Yeah, right. It's. I mean, my truck says, you know, your oil. It's not capacity. What is it? It's your. You've got 10% of your oil usage left before you have to change it out or whatever. And, you know, what if we were tuned in enough through this practice of stillness to know when, my capacity is getting a little low, you know, and I need to go reconnect. Yeah,
I thinking about getting still and being intentional. Just had my teeth cleaned. Not a big fan. It doesn't.
Rhonda? Did you have Rhonda?
I don't know who I'm not sure. She's sweet. She's very gentle.
Yes.
And I don't do the maintenance with my teeth that some people do, but I do a pretty good job. But you talk about being still. You are still in that chair
Yeah.
while somebody is messing in your mouth
Mm-hmm.
for maintenance,
Right.
so that
Right.
if there's something not in good shape there,
And they tell you, and they will tell you,
Yeah.
hey, you need to be flossing more, or you need to be doing this more.
I don't think she even tells me that anymore. But
Okay.
anyway, I got through this last one with, well, you're doing really well. Okay.
Yay!
Yeah,
That's good.
minimal flossing. That's awesome. But my point, SJ, is maintenance. And then a couple months ago, I had my second Mohs surgery.
Right.
It took out a big chunk out of my ear.
Can't even tell.
I thought I might have an elf ear after all that. But it's maintenance. Mm-hmm. And you talk about getting still. Mm-hmm. You're sitting there while you're being worked on. Mm-hmm. So I think about this idea of maintenance with Jesus, just getting still to get worked on.
Right.
To let him have access.
Right.
And I signed the forms before I went in, consent forms.
Yeah.
Rhonda, you have permission to put your hands in my mouth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Doc, you got permission to cut this thing out.
Yeah.
And
Jesus, you have permission.
All of it is about, all of that kind of maintenance is about, like you said about the oil, it's about the breaking down.
Yeah.
That this life has some things that kind of break down, and they need maintenance.
The oil gets full of dirt, and it loses its viscosity, which is what makes it slippery.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
And if it's
doing its job.
It's doing its job. But if you don't change it, I just was talking to a buddy of mine a couple of weeks ago. He's like, I took my truck in and it was running weird. They found metal in the oil. And I'm like, ooh, that's not good,
Yeah.
So now he has a new truck, but instead of replacing the engine. But it's a beautiful truck, Alan. Way to go. But it just, sometimes that happens from lack of maintenance. Yeah. Sometimes that happens just because it happens.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no shame if you're not able to find that space to do that, maintenance. At the same time, God is not a God of shame. He's not going to shame you into doing things or shame you for not doing things, right?
Yeah.
But he is going to say, man.
Hey, buddy. You want to get away?
Yeah, you really.
Can I carry you for a minute?
You might need some time. I love that cartoon, dude. There was the footprints in the sand.
Yeah.
And what's that groove over there? Oh, that's when I dragged you, kicking and screaming, right?
That's the less popular footprints in the sand, but but nonetheless.
So as we're talking about this, as we're talking about engaging in these practices, we've been doing this long enough to have heard a lot of stories from guys coming into the weekend. Mm-hmm. Man, this flared up, that flared up. Yeah, I had these weird dreams. Mm-hmm. So for a minute, what's the spiritual warfare aspect of coming into a weekend like this, whether it's the encounter weekend or another
great
one?
Question. So any intentionality, we believe this because we've seen this, we've seen it. Any intentionality towards intimacy with God, towards rest with God, towards experiencing God is going to be opposed. It is the world, the fallen world, the kingdom of darkness, and even that false self flesh that's the guy that's so ramped up and trying to get so much crap done and reacting in hurtful ways
striving,
to people,
proving,
right, all of that.
Yeah.
So just as you're bringing that to light, this weekend or any steps towards freedom, towards solitude with God, towards experiencing the love of God is opposed. So you are kind of dealing with a gravitational pull that you can learn over time and practice how to overcome and how to be intentional about the ways in which you step towards God. And so the wild thing, and for guys who haven't been to the weekend and really don't have some of the capacity that we don't even have right now to talk a lot about warfare other than what we're just mentioning. So but I would say the wild thing is it's all intel, it's all good. Why do they think they can do that? Why is it that when I try to go away and we go on vacation, this happens?
This always happens.
Right. Absolutely.
Might want to start there.
That's right. So, so I think about preparation for the weekend in terms of warfare. The prayers that we've sent these guys. If you need something to do for that minute in the truck, I would read that out loud, and lower your shoulder and get into that prayer, the daily prayer that's on our website for people for any time. I mean, I believe that in engaging, I was going to say reciting, but literally in engaging in that prayer for those 8 to 10 minutes it takes to go through that is good for me. And it has a power and a weightiness to it that when I declare those things and when I give them authority in my life, when I align my heart, right? When I align my heart under the banner of God and bring the banner of God over my heart, I believe in the spiritual realm and in my body physically, something is happening. Oh, yeah. That's good for me.
You're exercising your will.
That's good for, yes.
It's like
really
you talked about before.
Good idea.
Yeah, you're not showing up to, spring training and starting to do push-ups.
Right.
Right? When you do that, you're doing the exercises, you're exercising your will leading into a weekend away like this so that you're coming in, maybe you might be beat up. Maybe you might be going through a bunch of hard things, but you are still being intentional and exercising your will.
And I was going to say something to Caleb. To your point, there really isn't an off season.
No.
But as athletes, that's when we would move, try to increase our speed, try to increase our strength. That's where you would work on those things. And so the concept, and so that you can perform in the games and in these practices where you're being evaluated and determine whether you get to play with us or for us. In the kingdom, you're in. You were in.
Yeah, there's no days off.
There's no off season.
Yeah, no days off.
So, a matter of rest as well as the sit-ups and push-ups is it's all something that I believe an oriented man, which is what we're after and what we're promoting. I think those are some of the things that become really important. And so I've said this to you before. This is just kind of cheeky, but I'm going to say it anyway. My favorite excuse not to mow the lawn is when the lawnmower's broke.
Yeah.
Or my favorite excuse to not lift weights is when I don't have any. Or my favorite excuse to not watch an online workout is the Wi-Fi's down.
Right.
And so I've got plenty of reasons and plenty of excuses to not do stuff.
The stuff we know we're supposed to be doing. Yes.
And so there is a discipline and there's a spirit of the disciplines. As Richard Foster wrote a really great book about that I would say to any man and to every man, whether you're coming or not, there is, you said it earlier, there's an exercising of your will and an intentionality and a purposefulness that if you can accomplish even the ability to do that. And I'm mindful, I don't know if our friends know that you get in a bucket of ice on occasion.
Every other day. Cold plunge. Yeah. 37 degrees. And
I think that's awesome.
It actually is awesome.
Well, and the reason I think it's awesome, whether you flip on the shower and turn it to cold and you step in there, and it's a different, I understand it's a different method of a different thing, but I'm saying
immersion.
When are you exercising your will for good? When are you exercising your will all to the one less bite? One more mile.
Every single morning that I'm scheduled to get into that thing, there's a voice in my head that says, you don't really have to do that. Do you know how cold it is out there? Do you know how cold that is?
Yeah.
Every single daggum time.
And that's it.
Yep.
The awareness of what little feud is going on internally when it comes to doing good things.
Yeah.
Sometimes right things, sometimes better things. I mean, if men, I'm going to say, I think Jesus was so free and his will was so in alignment that his default was toward goodness. I'm not there yet.
Right.
But I can smell it sometimes. I
Yep.
can taste it sometimes. Yep. That to overcome certain compromises, to overcome certain voices, you have to see them and then make the next step.
Right, and not just assume that when you hear that voice that's normal or what you should be listening to or what you should be doing, or when that voice comes up, somebody cuts you off in traffic, that voice that comes out, you so and so, blah 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 blah. Where is that coming from? What is that?
Yeah,
is the great way to live. So
that's the best part of solitude, bro, is that it gives you a chance to listen and hear and see and feel.
Yeah.
The stuff that just won't shut off.
Right.
The stuff that just won't turn down.
Right.
And so if you can see it in time, in a slowing down of time, the hope would be you could see it when time is not
full
time
speed.
Is not your friend. That things are moving.
Yeah, really briefly, that just makes me think about it. There were a couple of times, I only played sports in high school, never beyond that. You played on the college level, Caleb too. The game just gets faster and faster. And I remember a couple of times where the game slowed down. Back then we called it being in the zone.
Yeah.
How does that look for this spiritual walk that we're talking about? What would being in the zone be like?
Okay.
In the spiritual realm.
I'm gonna go into ESPN if I was a commentator in this. That's called IQ.
Okay.
That's having an IQ that you see the game while you're playing the game. You understand how it works and what so that before something, and you've maybe played with somebody in a way that I just know he sees it. He sees what I see. He's going to backdoor, and I can put it there.
Yeah,
I can put the pass there.
Or he sees it's a single high safety, and this route's going to work. Blah blah blah.
And sometimes it's not even in that moment. It was he's being overplayed. So you just get that nod or wink with that teammate, right? I just saw in one of the speaking of the Patriots,
the Dynasty.
Yeah, in the Dynasty
series.
So, but it was the wide receiver who ended up, and now he's commentating. Come on. Who was
Edelman?
No, Edelman's funny too. This was
Wes Welker.
No. The tall 6'5".
Gronkowski.
No. This is funny, man.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. He played. He won a Super Bowl with them.
Randy Moss.
Moss.
Oh, yeah.
Randy Moss. Saying
he just got mossed.
Yeah, but Randy Moss is talking about this very thing in one of the kind of improv interviews that they're doing with him, and he said, "We get on the line of scrimmage, and we look at the quarterback, and only a quarterback and a receiver could tell you this story." And he's getting animated. He said, I look at Tom, and I just know, he's coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make a play.
Mm-hmm.
That's that IQ. That's that, and they trust each other and they can accomplish that. So, I feel like this is a great. There's something even deeper in this whole idea of I want to have a spiritual IQ. I want to have the ability to not like, oh, why is the enemy full court pressing me? But to actually know, no, they have to because they can't stop me. Mm-hmm. They've got to do something to apply some pressure.
It's a very different perspective.
And so it's okay. Here we go. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you can start to pay attention, all of this as we land this, the whole weekend, and so much of what we want to be about is helping men be able to pay attention to what God is showing and telling them in their day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, all of it's right there in front of them. The things that need healing, the things that need attention, the things that need maintenance, the things that just keep you falling into that place. I mean, we're exploring
the lies we believe.
We're exploring a book right now on unwanted sexual behavior and pornography, and it is so complementary to what we are already doing.
100%. Yeah.
But there's a couple swipes in there, and I'm like, man, that is really good, and that is really true. And the whole point of it, right, is it's not your behavior. That's not where you start. No. It's not accountability.
You're
it's
way
not,
too far
it's
downstream.
Not just doing stuff and not doing stuff.
Right.
You got to get up here as to why am I doing?
Right.
And why am I not able? And up there is where the work, I think, of getting away with God, and whether it's a weekend or it's a morning, afternoon, evening, the rituals, the things that will be good for you and allow you to be in the best position to fight the good fight, as Paul says, to be able to resist the devil and he will flee from you. If you haven't done any of those things in the last few days, you're probably getting your ass handed to you.
Probably so, yeah. And so what the weekend...
Don't put that particular clip on the
it's fine.
On the reel.
They can take it.
But I mean, I'm tired of seeing guys just get it handed to them.
Right.
And they have no idea what is really going on.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most important things that we do as we're wrapping up this episode at the weekend. It's a great reminder. It's great training to understand, this weekend away is literally a mountaintop experience where we go to a mountaintop. But what we're trying
with some caves in it.
There are caves also, yes. The old hot springs. But what we're trying to help guys understand is you can live this way.
Yeah.
One of the most important times of the weekend is our time alone with God. After we do a session, we get a code of silence going. We offer some questions to take to God. And you don't have to be at a weekend away to do that.
To do all that, right.
Is the point.
We're trying to teach them a way that they can come down off the mountain and live.
Absolutely.
I want to add, too, to these guys, since they are maybe tuning in who are going to be at the weekend. I would take that daily prayer. Specifically, I would take the daily prayer or the conference prayer that you have access to, and I would move about my house. I would pray in every bedroom of my children. I'd pray over my children. But while I'm going to be away, entering into some time, some work with God on my own heart and soul, I would pray over my home and my home front.
Over, for, and against.
Over, for, and against. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think that, and here's what's crazy. The first time you do a lot of things, it just feels goofy.
Mm-hmm. Awkward.
It
first times don't usually go well.
And so I've never done that. I've never prayed over my home. I've never prayed. Hey man, just swing.
Yeah.
See if Jesus doesn't put the ball on the bat.
Mm-hmm.
See if Jesus doesn't move the basket to where you shot it.
Mm-hmm.
See if he doesn't move the clay to where you aimed.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, you do your part.
You engaging.
You do your part. You bring your strength. This is your kingdom, your small K kingdom. And you might ask, well, what will happen if I don't do that? I don't know. You can tell us on Monday, or Tuesday.
Also, with some guys I talk to, it's like, really, you kind of know because you've been living in it, and you're hopeful for something different. Yeah. So nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right. And what happens if something still happens while I'm gone? I said, well, that's another question. That's another great question altogether. Mm-hmm. I wonder what that's about. Mm-hmm. I wonder what God's revealing, what he's showing. Because if it happened
in a
while
busted
you were gone,
water heater,
it might be the opportunity for you to go home and address something differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it was allowed for you to benefit you, to show that you're different. I don't know, man. Yep. I don't know. I'm just saying. Yep. But I would exercise that option over my home, over, for, and against on behalf of my family, and I will again as I leave. I mean, even and I extend those prayers to my adult children,
of course,
while I'm gone.
Yeah,
so that I can get as much security and kingdom protection over my household, over my small K kingdom as possible when I'm going to go away.
The other thing that makes me think of that you say all the time at the weekend is just because it's not going well doesn't mean it isn't going according to plan. Mm-hmm. So embracing the journey that you're on. Yeah. Jesus, what are you trying to show me in whatever it is that's going on?
Yep. Yep.
So
we're so excited to see these guys that God has led, these almost 400 dudes that we're going to get to hang out with and try to bring some orientation to their lives. Love almost half the conference is returners, is alumni.
Yeah, alumni.
Is guys coming back for
wanting
more.
To do more work, bringing guys with them.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And it's different every time because
and
we're different, they're different. And sessions are kind of titled the same, but they're always different. So
it's
really
always
excited.
moving around, and God's up to something different in it.
Yeah. So, Jesus, thank you for these men that are coming, and the men that just need to be reminded that it does cost us something to walk with you, to enter into a relationship with you, that there's an enemy that opposes us, and that freedom isn't free. That just on the other side of Easter, we recognize what you did to arrange for our freedom, and so we step into it. We step into it, Jesus. Thank you, Father, for providing for us, for declaring our worth and value. And now, as we prepare our hearts for the Heart of a Warrior Encounter weekend, or just another day in your kingdom, I pray that we would move with intention as men, that we would move with purpose, and that we would be so mindful of what we're saying yes to and what to say no to, and to just build the muscles, to build the practice, to build the ability to have our will done on earth as it is in heaven, and in heaven as it is on earth, just like you, as your image bearers. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
We'll see you soon. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoe.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoe on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoe on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.